Hi, thanks for tuning in. I want to share with you how you could potentially rent to own any home that's for sale. And then at the very end, I'm going to give you a bonus to open up even more properties that you might be able to rent to own that you had never thought about before. So let's jump right into it. Now, the reason it's become so important is once you've made a decision that you want to get into a rent to own house, now the next question is, where do I find such a property and how do I go about that search process? And there are certainly some sources out there, some websites, and even some properties through the multiple listing service that will be advertising and marketing for rent to own. And that obviously is really simple. You call them up and see if you qualify for the rent to own terms. But what if you could expand the possibilities and potentially rent to own any property that's for sale? So let me show you how you do that. One way is you simply convince the sellers of a property, even if they're not advertising rent to own, you simply convince them why it's a great idea to do a rent to own with you. Now, obviously, that takes some skill and technique, and we have some other courses inside our free training here on YouTube that you can learn how to do that. But I want you to expand your possibilities. You can even work with an investor. We have lots of investors through our network that will go help you accomplish this task. So you could begin to look at properties that, again, are not advertising rent to own, but you really like the house and you'd like to get into it, and there's a chance you may be able to actually move into that property on a rent to own. So that's one way to do it. There's another method, though, that's even easier than trying to convince the sellers to do a rent to own. And here's how that works. You simply work with investors who will invest into properties and buy them for you. So now, pretty much, the expansion of properties out there grows even further. So, for example, you see a particular home on the market that you like. It's in the price range that you can qualify for. And an investor who wants to make a difference in people's lives will actually go purchase that property for you, having established the terms with you in advance of what your rent will be, what your rent credits will be, and all the other elements that we describe and how to set up and what the fundamentals of a rent-to-own structure. But now this opens up your doors tremendously on finding that right home that's going to fit your needs, be something that you enjoy, and of course, at the same time, get you on that path to home ownership. Now, a lot of times people say, well, where do I find investors like that? They're actually around quite a bit. You'd be surprised. We're putting some resources down below this link here that you could link to find out how you could connect in with different resources that would buy properties on your behalf to help you get into home ownership. So definitely you want to check that out. So those are just two ways that all of a sudden you now can expand the possibilities of your next home. Now I'm going to open up one other as a bonus for you, a different place to look than you may not already be thinking. And here it is, going after rental properties. So you want to look for properties that are already for rent, because these landlords that are renting may have the interest in eventually selling that property to you. They're already willing to rent it. And quite honestly, many times people end up renting a house out because they weren't able to sell it. So the idea that you have an interest in renting it and then moving into a place where you can buy it from them, you've actually solved their biggest need and challenge. Now, having that conversation may not be something that you're too comfortable with or know what to do, and that's why we've, again, added some resources right under here that you can connect in with and get some guidance if you think that this might make sense for you. But again, you don't have to limit yourself to just the properties that you are finding out there that are advertising rent to own. As I described before, you can either try to convince sellers to maybe consider that as another option that they're not advertising. You can work with investors that will buy it for you. And in both those cases, you want to look at potentially properties that are for rent today and see if they are willing to do a rent to own with you. So hopefully you enjoyed the content here. If you like the content that we've been providing, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on some of our other additional trainings we add to our channel.